Thank you for coming on. So we call this the Rehab Session with the doc.
Okay.
So basically, this is where we diagnose real conversations,
Okay.
and we give the prescription to life. How's the day?
Today was great, busy, which is how I like it. I look at my watch, I'm like, man, it's 3:00. I need to eat lunch. But I like it like that.
Do you eat lunch? Do you eat breakfast?
It depends on the day. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll do breakfast meetings. Sometimes it's just a cup of coffee and then a lunch.
Got you.
Sometimes it's mid-morning breakfast and then an early dinner. It just depends on what the day. I keep a thing of dry roasted, honey roasted peanuts because you need a mid-afternoon snack sometimes. That's my go-to.
That's your thing?
I got it. I keep them in the car because at the end of the day, worst case, I get a couple handfuls.
Really want to go.
A couple handfuls of peanuts and keep going.
I'm super curious to know about the Landmark Foundation because I've been to the wheelchair ramp build not too long ago. And
great video. That was an awesome video.
Thank you. And it was amazing. How did that happen?
We set the foundation up in 2018.
Okay.
And we've always had, I think, as a company, a very charitable heart. Our employees have always participated in, walks or supporting different 501c3 charities that were out there. And we just decided to get a little bit more organized in our giving. Okay. So $10 from every closing goes into the foundation. So we do around 5,000 closings a year. So that's $50,000 that goes in the foundation just from closings, right? And then we get some private party donations every now and then. And we use that money for a variety of activities. So the wheelchair ramps is a big part of it.
Okay.
We do roughly 7 or 8 of those a year, depending on the timing. We always take off like May, June, July, August, September. We usually kind of take those 5 months off, and then we see what we can do from October. We do one a month roughly, but in those hot months, we just found that getting volunteers out was pretty rough. And it's the summer months, right? So most of our volunteers are in real estate. That's their busy time.
Got you. Okay.
So the ramp builds are great. There used to be, especially in Duval County, there used to be a couple organizations that were doing them. And it seems like we're one of the only ones doing them in Duval County now, which is good that we filled that need. We have way more ramps to do than we can get to.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, it is great.
We should partner up with you then.
Yes, we should. And I think that's the plan going forward is to do some, because the ramps cost about, let's say, $3,000 a ramp to do, $2,500 to $3,000, depending on how big the ramp is and how much the lumber costs.
Okay.
And then we've got Eddie out there who you probably know that ramp.
Yes, I was going to ask. So is that how it is?
And because got to have somebody that really knows what they're doing. So Eddie's great. We've been doing ramps with him for years.
Okay.
And so he's out there making sure that everything is the way it is.
And everyone knows what they're doing.
So the ramps are great. In addition to that, we have fixed and flipped 4 houses. And what we do there is we find houses usually in the inner city that home flippers either can't make the numbers work because they're just in such bad shape. That's typically what it is. We'll find something where the numbers just don't work for a typical fix and flip, and we'll go in, and because we aren't trying to make a profit, I don't have to worry about that.
Gotcha.
So we go in, and the other thing that separates a Landmark Foundation house from a typical, what I'd say, home flipper house is, they have to make a profit.
Okay.
So when they look at the roof, they might not replace it, they might just patch it. We're going to replace it. Okay. They might just fix up the kitchen and bathroom. We're going to replace them. So we go in, and our goal is to make these houses as like new as possible. Because the one thing you don't want to do is take somebody who's already struggling to get into a house, and then they get in there, and 3 months later, the AC breaks. Right? So it's a new AC unit, new plumbing, upgraded electric, new roof, new kitchen, new bath, new flooring. We want them to go in and buy as close to a new house as we can. And we've made a little bit of money on some of these houses. A little. We've lost a little bit of money on some of the houses, but it evens out, right? Balances out. And we partner with CRA-approved lenders, right? So it's a lot of bond financing. Most of these people qualify for SHIP or some of these other acronyms that are out there, right, that provide down payment assistance. And it's great because every single one of these buyers has been a first-time home buyer, and they haven't necessarily been a 25-year-old first-time home buyer. Gotcha. One of them was a 60-year-old veteran who used VA plus a bond. He had never owned a house. The last one we did, the couple probably in their 50s, maybe early 60s, and their daughter and granddaughter lived with them, right? Wow. And they had never owned a house. And so just to see the smile on their face, right? And we're in real estate, so the ramp builds, the houses, and then we use the other money in the foundation to support other charitable causes, right? So we're active in Best Buddies, we're active with Rethreaded, and real estate agents and loan officers like yourself may say, hey, Dave, I'm doing a walk for multiple sclerosis, and I'll say, hey, sure, here's check $250 from the foundation to support your charity. So it's supporting our employees' passions, our customers' passions, and then mix in and sprinkle in a little bit of what we love to do.
So have you always been this generous guy from day one?
I mean, I think that all of us, it's our job to do. And I had great example growing up in my parents and my grandparents. And it was instilled in me from a very early age that you give back.
Yes.
And growing up as a kid, we went down to the soup kitchen and worked on the weekends. And, I was very active in Boy Scouts. We were always doing the service hours and stuff like that. So I just grew up doing it. And it's, it all just comes back to being biblical, right? Everything goes back to that. So live like Jesus. That's what we try to do every day, all of us, right? And so we're just trying to do our part to make the community a better place.
I like that. So Landmark Foundation started in 2018. So
yeah, the Landmark title started in 2005.
So that one came first.
And 2018 was just kind of let's get a little more organized in how we're doing things.
Okay.
Right? And I wanted to get more philanthropic. And so that's where we said, hey, rather than just not having a budget, and yes, we support all these philanthropies as a company, but let's really get organized. And that's where we said, look, we're going to take $10 from every closing and we're going to put it in the foundation. And then we're going to go out and do good stuff in the community with it. And so it's great because we've got about 80, 90 employees, and our employees will come to us all the time and say, hey, I'm doing this. My mom died of Alzheimer's, and can we support this Alzheimer's charity that I'm involved in? Absolutely. So the employees get very involved in it and are a big part of directing how some of that money is spent.
Okay. And the reason why I was asking too is because I hear you guys are opening up a new one. So
new Landmark title.
How many do you have altogether?
We have 16 now. We have 9 in Northeast Florida.
Okay.
So we're up in Nassau County, Fernandina Beach. And then we have several in Duval, Jacksonville Beach, Mandarin, Riverside, our main one, Johns County. We have one over in the Durban area, and we have one down in Palm Coast. And then we've got a Fleming Island, Clay County. So we got the 5 Northeast counties covered. And then out of county, we're down in Melbourne, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, and Miami. And then we're out west, we're in Clearwater, and we just opened Panama City Beach.
Wow. And this one is open in St. Augustine.
Augustine just opened, what's today? Tuesday, they opened yesterday. We had been in St. Augustine, and our lease ran up, and I didn't like the space, and I was looking for just the right space in Augustine for a couple of years.
Oh,
and I've been looking, and we found a great house, a 100-year-old bungalow on the north end of town next to Dose Coffee, if people know where that is. And that's the next area that's really getting fixed up, is from downtown, that where the fort heading north on San Marco all the way up to 16 is really getting redone. It's a great area of town. So that's where we went for this office, and then probably will get something on the island, on Anastasia Island at some point. But this is our St. Augustine office for now, but we're very excited about it.
Got you. And so are you originally from Jackson?
Born and raised here in Jacksonville. How about you?
Me, I'm originally from New York, Queens, Southside Jamaica.
Okay.
I kind of bounce around.
Okay.
My dad was a NYPD undercover narcotics detective.
Wow.
And once he retired, he moved to Virginia. So I went there. But when him and my mom divorced, I went with my mom to Pennsylvania, then went with him to Virginia, and went back.
You've been all over.
Yeah.
What brought you to Jacksonville?
So actually, I came to Florida in 2013.
Okay.
That's when I got here. And I was in St. Cloud, Orlando area.
Okay.
Yeah. So I finished high school out there. No, 2017 I left. My brother was in the Navy and he lived out here. And I was like, Dad, look, I got something new. I'm going to leave and then try it out. And I've been there ever since. So I did do a little break away. Yeah. It is great.
But being all over, you get a good sense of perspective.
Because I also drove trucks too. So I did 48 states. I've seen a lot of different places, and it was definitely a cool experience. And that's what brings me to my next question. I hear you are a traveler.
A little bit. Not as much as I'd like to be. I'm, still raising 4 kids, and I've got a 23 and 20-year-old. Okay. But I still have 2 at home, 16 and 13. So probably in a few years when that 13's out of the house, when he's 18, I'll hopefully do a little bit more. I'm actually going international for the first time, going to Italy for a wedding this summer for one of my best friend's son's wedding. I do a little domestic travel, so, and I'm very fortunate. I'm going to the Kentucky Derby this weekend, so I'm excited to go to the Derby. Yeah, get up to New York a lot. I'm a big Yankees fan, and so the buddy line to get up there. We'll just go hit a random Yankees game.
When Jeter left, I was like, man.
I know, but now they got Judge. It's exciting to watch.
I love the Yankees. I love the symbol. Whoever came up with the symbol, it is beautiful. So if you had to give me, let's say, top three states since it's been domestic.
Okay.
What would you say has been your top three?
I love Montana. I don't know that I want to do winter in Montana, but there's nothing like summer in Montana. It's incredible. And I'll be out there again this summer, going out with one of my best friends for a music festival.
Okay.
Montana's great. I have a second home in North Carolina, just north of Asheville.
Okay.
So I love the Carolinas. I grew up there, going there as a kid. We had a family vacation house near Highlands. The town that the house is in is called Marshall.
Okay.
And Marshall was like ground zero for destruction. The entire town was wiped out. And you go on and look at videos of it. And actually, the town is doing their sort of grand reopening this weekend. I'm going to miss it because I'll be in Louisville for the Derby. But otherwise, I would be up there. About half the businesses have opened or are reopening in the next few weeks. Probably about 75% of them will be open by July 4th.
Okay.
It's really incredible. I went up there for a few weekends after the storm to help with cleanup. I mean, it was just total devastation. It looked like somebody just dropped a bomb in the middle of downtown Marshall.
Oh, man.
Every single business was wiped out. Water up over, to the second floor. It was crazy. They're a resilient bunch, the Appalachians, and literally, I mean, the day after the storm, locals were down there with their skid steers and just helping neighbors dig out, and it was really heartwarming. So, and I was able to bring my 13-year-old with me for one of those trips, and for him to see a community come together like that was really special.
Yes, my dad was out there too with the FEMA thing.
Was he really?
Yeah. I think security, I guess.
So he works for FEMA now?
Well, so with the whole, I think Trump stopped the government funding, whatever.
He's probably
he was out there for like 3-4 months.
Yeah, that's great. The FEMA was they got on the ground very quickly. They did a good job.
Yeah,
and all the third-party contractors. And then the third state would have to be Florida because I love the ocean. So I love that we have an office in West Palm Beach. I wouldn't want to live in South Florida, but I haven't been to California yet. Okay. Yeah, well, I've been in Napa. I did like that, but I have not been to the coast. And all my friends that are from California, I say, how do you put up with the politics and the taxes? And they're like, the climate. Like, you just got to live there to believe it. And they're willing to put up with all the craziness because of how beautiful it is.
Man, so let me tell you something. I never knew that California can get so snowy at the top.
Up in the Sierras, what is it up there? Yeah.
So I only found out about this place when I was driving trucks.
You were going?
Yeah, long haul, yeah. So I passed the test with my trainer. The first week, we're out by ourselves. I'm out by myself.
Wow.
That first week was like late December going up to January. I had to go through Donner Summit.
Wow.
Which is one of the toughest mountains that you can go through. And it's terrible. David, when we get off the podcast, I'll show you on my phone, right? This area, if you get out the truck, the snow is like up to your shoulders, past your shoulder, like piled up on the side.
And you'd have to pull over, put your chains on.
Anything about the Jake brake?
No.
Okay, so there's a Jake brake, and it's basically, so when you're going downhill, you want to hit it before you actually start picking up speed.
Okay.
And it disconnects the gears from the engine.
Okay.
So it allows the truck to slow down. But any mess up, you don't want to pump your brakes going all the way down the hill because it'll heat up.
No, and I've seen the videos of those trucks hitting the what do they call them?
The snow bank. It was scary. Some incidents were scary, but yeah. And then, as soon as I got through, I forgot what part of California I was going through. It was just sunny. It was like springtime.
Crazy, but I bet it's crazy when you're going downhill and you start to. You're like, oh boy, that's my brakes.
My brakes. Yeah.
You're like, almost there. That never happened to you.
So it did.
You can smell it a little bit, but it's normal.
In Oregon, it did. Yeah. Oregon, it was a crazy steep 5%. And by the time I got to the bottom, if you looked in my mirrors, it was just smoke coming from the bottom of it. It was crazy. I like to ask, because this is the Rehab Session.
Okay.
If you had to give a remedy for having a successful business, what would you say? What would be your prescription?
Well, there's a lot, but I would say to start, and I tell my kids this all the time, what are the two things in life that you can control? One is your attitude and the other is your effort. And attitude is, do you wake up in the morning? Do you have a positive mindset? Do you have a growth mindset? Are you optimistic? Right? Or do you have high emotional intelligence? So have a good attitude. And then the second is the level of effort that you put forward, which is pretty straightforward, right? Yeah. Go out and give it 100% all day, every day. If you do that at anything in this world, you will be successful. I mean, that's the foundation, as I think you've got to have those two things. And then from there, boy, we could spend a whole podcast on the mistakes I made, the things I did wrong, the things I did right, all learning how I built the company. Yeah, I do love talking business. And I love talking to small business owners and sharing our, stories and what works and what doesn't. And I love anytime I can mentor somebody who's a small business owner and try to help them pass on what I learned, like I had others do for me.
Did you have anyone who was your person? You remember them?
From a knowledge standpoint, I have to say that my dad was my biggest mentor. He's a successful commercial real estate attorney. So to have him to be able to call and say, hey, I've got a legal issue, can you walk me through it? That was fantastic. On the business side, a lot of that I really had to figure out on my own. I read a lot of books on how to be a great boss, E-Myth Revisited, Traction, so many great books that have helped me along the way.
Yes, sir.
But I didn't have... I got in a couple peer groups, and that has been helpful, right? Getting in peer groups that are at the same stage as you. You don't want to get into a peer group with a company that's doing 50 million if you're only doing 5. You want to be in the 5 million. So I've kind of progressed through a couple of those over the course, and that's been fantastic.
Well, David, thank you again for being on Rehab Session. Make sure you take notes, okay? Effort, attitude. The main 2 things that you can control.
Yeah.
David, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on. That was fun.